Imagine a league built by the people, for the people. A league dedicated to the economic development of your city. So the question becomes, how good are the 32 teams that play in the minor football league? Well, there's only one way to find out. You have to experience the MFL.
Welcome to another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Richard Myles Sr., CEO, founder, and chairman of the Minor Football League. I'm excited about being here Wednesday. I got some special guests on. Of course, always Robert Gatewood from the marketing Pulpit. I also have one of my GMs on today, Mr. Thirston Hall, will be my Texas GM. And we just so excited to be here. For the first time in about 3 months, we actually shooting from the office and not the office of cable and television. So not that we're gonna be back here now all the time, but we haven't had an opportunity to get it, cut some mail and everything, because we're still not able to be in the office right now. But I'm excited about all the things that we got going on. We also have that Oklahoma franchise, the Oklahoma Cowboys franchise is ready to go 21 as well. So we really excited about what we're doing. We're looking forward to working with these new GMs. And also, I want to know, I'm going to take something from a colleague of mine. I want to know how y'all doing. Is everybody all right, your family members? Because this COVID-19 is still serious and it's really still spiking in different parts of the country. So I want everybody to really take care, do what you're supposed to do in terms of having the mic and stuff. I see I have my co-host here, Mr. Robert Gatewood. Let me bring Robert on. We just excited about what's going on this way. Hey, Robert, how you doing?
Hey, Miles, how you doing there, bro?
Oh, man, I can't tell you. We're just trying to make sure everybody stays safe. I was talking about the fact that we want people to, hey, continue wearing your face mask. Don't listen to other people telling you that you don't have to wear your face mask. Don't listen to somebody tell you something ain't right. That's just like it remind me when I was young. You know how you go to a movie, Robert, you get ready, you want to see a movie and somebody seen the movie before you and they tell you, oh man, that movie ain't nothing. And you say, wow, well, I don't think I'm gonna go. And then you go anyway and found out the movie was good. Now, if you would listen to what he said, we would miss the good movie. You know what I mean? So let me bring Robert on. Robert is our money man. We call him our money man for inside the MFL. Robert, what's going on, sir?
You're right. This pandemic is still on people's minds, and what I've noticed, Miles, a lot of these school systems have to make a decision, and many are starting to make that decision this week because you can't wait until September to decide whether or not you're going to have a school system because people have to make plans. And when we're talking about plans and we're talking about business, we have to look at that. You can't separate what's happening with the school systems, what's happening with the business world, because I mean they're interchanged. There's a supply chain, there's downlines. I mean, I was thinking about the school bus drivers. Think about that. If you are a school bus driver and you're sitting there waiting on somebody to make a decision, and if they decide there's going to be no school,
that means you don't work.
You don't have any school. No, you don't need a bus, right?
Right.
That means no bus. That means no mechanic. That means no attendees, no gas go in the bus, no daycare for the kids. So we have to look at this in a very broad way, and that's why I've been trying to get people from the inception of this pandemic is to look at the supply chain, how far down the line this thing reaches, and make sure you're on the right side, whether it affects you positively or negatively, and don't just look at what's happening today. Look at what's going to happen 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road.
Right. And it's ironic that you said that. I'm glad you said it because a lot of people don't realize that. I read somewhere earlier they're going to release some prisoners because of the pandemic. But if you're going to release them because of that, why would you risk our young kids in these schools knowing that this virus is still running rapidly? But more importantly, you have to hand it to the teachers. The teachers say, look, we're not going back in there. You
Yeah.
guys have to come with some better solution than this. And then I also heard some parents say that they don't want their kids sitting around not learning anything. But the way technology is now, they have all these shows on the cable, that these academic shows for young kids. Way more advanced than when we was coming up, Robert. You had to get the little blocks and say your ABC.
Mhm.
Now they've got a whole curriculum they can put on there for young people of different ages. So I don't see that as being something to cry about in terms of they don't feel the kids getting out, because those shows I watch them sometimes. It's just like you're being taught by a teacher, and it's even one-on-one. Because no matter how many people watch it, only one person at a time, depending if they're at home, get to see you. So they're really getting that special attention. When you say
That's exactly right. Well, it's called looking at the bright side of things. Since this pandemic started, some people are crying in their coffee and playing violins, while there are others out here making things happen, shaking it up.
like my man
And
Robert Gatewood,
oh,
that's right.
no grass has grown under my feet. I hate to profit from the misfortune of others or the times that we're in, but I consider myself providing a service that people need.
Right.
And I've made exceptions and provisions so that people who can't afford my services, I'm bending the rules, I'm making it affordable, I'm stretching out payment plans, because when you're in a mission, the money is one thing, but helping your community is another. And they don't have
Right.
to be mutually exclusive. You can do both.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we don't seem to understand that. Some of us think everything's supposed to stop because we're on the same schedule as the government. Don't be on the same schedule the government's on, buddy, because you're really going to be lost. And just to go back to what you touched base on, what you said a few minutes ago, when you said that you hate to feel like you're making money off of people misfortune. That's not true, because you look at it as opportunities, and it always been opportunity and money in chaos. You know what I mean? That's
right.
what it's about. It's chaos, and someone has to come up with the solution to the problem. You don't want to be the problem; you want to be the solution. And I see you as being someone, being the solution to this problem, in terms of telling people, "Hey, don't sit around now. Don't sit around. Don't become complacent," which we all do. We become lazy. As you know, I be pushing every day. Everybody says, man, every time I see you doing something, because we know that you got to keep pushing. You don't lay back and hopefully saying things are going to change, because the norm is gone. We have to face that. And why is it so hard for people to accept that, Robert?
Well, I look at I think the medical profession has a saying called primum non secure, which first do no harm. When you look at the pandemic, as long as you're not contributing to the problem and you're trying to make people better, you're on the right side. But at the same time, we have to adapt the mindset of that we're going to be doing things to help our economic foundation, help our community. And I like to think about the 3 M's when I'm thinking about somebody starting a business. And mindset is one of them. You have to have the right mindset. Once upon a time, Miles, I would say that everybody should go out here and start a business. I'm not quite as high on that as I used to be. I think everybody should at
It
least
ain't
have
for everybody.
it's not for everybody. Some
I know
people
a plan, though, at least.
and that's not to say it is a bad thing, and not to say they shouldn't be planning for some type of exit strategy from their 9 to 5 job when they decide to retire. But there are other options out here, like owning a franchise. People who own franchises, some of them are first time business owners because they're walking into a turnkey operation. You got to have a market, have an understanding of the marketing, that everybody's not your customer, and that you have to target, identify your audience. And here's something that many people hate to realize, but you have to have some money too to start a business. You can't go out here and just say, look, I'm going to pray, I'm going to throw caution to the wind, and just hang my head out there and hope things happen. You better have a plan to get some money. Now, there are different ways to get it. You can bootstrap like many people do. They keep their 9 to 5 job and they siphon off money and feed into their business. Some go out here and get other jobs. Some go and take a second job. Some have rich parents or relatives, and I'm not saying you have to go out here and have $1 million, but you have to be able to fund this dream and this aspiration that you have. You got to have some way of funding it, and there are creative ways to do it. And so you got to look at those 3 M's anytime you're trying to start a business, and understand that there are different ways to go about it. And that's why I've been very passionate and committed to helping companies start businesses, and found out that some, like I say, they're not necessarily cut from the entrepreneur cloth, but that doesn't mean you can't be a business owner. That means you have to take a different path, because you have to look at it as a means to an end. The end is to build economic, financial freedom.
Right.
And if you can do that by staying on your job and investing in maybe somebody else's company, maybe you can become a partner, or you can be a joint venture, or you can buy their stock. But there are other ways to reach this financial independence other than actually getting down into the trenches of business operations.
Absolutely. And also, Robert, I'm glad you said it, because people have to also understand that economic empowerment is something that we all have to get on board with and understand that. And like you say, you have to have some money to start. But then again, some people have a lot of money and scared to try everything because they're complacent. You know what I mean? They just feel like, okay, well, I got this. I'm not going to take no chance.
Yeah, some complacent, and some have misdirected their money and put it on things that's really never going to get them any type of return on that money. I look at money every time money goes out of my hand. I'm always wondering how I'm going to get some of that back, no matter where,
right?
No matter where I spend it. I ask myself, am I going to see that money again? Now, that's the advantage also, Myles, of investing in your community, shopping with your community stores. Because when I go down to a certain side of the track and I spend my money, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to see that money again ever. But when I put money in my community, even though that person may not be related to me, in my bloodline, but if it's in my community, that person may end up hiring somebody that I know, may end up hiring my kids, my nephew. They may end up supporting the interests and the passions of the community. They may contribute to a child development center. So that money that you invest in your community has legs. It proliferates, it grows. And so that's been kind of like one of my pet peeves. Whenever money leaves my hand, and call me selfish or whatever you want to call it, I'm always wondering how that money going to come back to me. I want it to come back to me in some form. I mean, directly, because sometimes you can invest money, and some of these folks actually become my clients. So that money has made its rounds and come back. But in our community, our money sticks around about 8 hours. In other communities, we're talking about, in some cases, 15 days, a month, some cases a darn year.
Right.
So we have to change that dynamic too. So when we're thinking about business ownership and the mindset, we also have to think about this. We don't operate in a vacuum. We have to look at the collective community. And so when we're starting this business, we have to think about reciprocity too. You spend with me, I'm going to spend with you. You can't be spending your money down the street and crying that nobody comes to your store and support you. So as you can see, it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of competing interests in business ownership.
Absolutely. And that's why you're so invaluable to be a part of the MFL. And I had some listeners, and I had some people that talk with me in MFL Nation. They say, y'all do a lot of empowerment in people in terms of getting them to understand business. And I say, I have to give that hats off to Robert, because that, I always tell people all the time, the MFL is a laboratory of change. Okay.
Yes.
Meaning change. We're going to tell you some of the stuff that most people are not going to tell you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is what, oh, wow. This is the sad part is this. We need to understand the power of ownership, the power of understanding business. And that's something that a lot of us are afraid of and don't understand. And we try to get them to understand it. But that's why we have you on the show. Secondly, we had the fact, I like the fact that, you educate people, Robert. We educate a lot of people. Although we, the MFL, we're a football organization, but like I always say, the understanding, we give them, you know, the understanding of the MFL is the laboratory of change. You know,
Right.
we stress that, we can't stress that enough, that we're the organization that teaching people about business, bringing former players from the field to the front office. Also, I want people to understand that that's why we have Robert here. And a lot of people don't understand, Robert, the fact that the MFL is, wow, you know, we got to, you know, we really like your show, Myles, because you talk about more than football. And I have to bring this up, maybe take a couple of minutes out of here, because we are the laboratory of change. We will be remiss if we don't talk about this for maybe a minute. And I said that about the Redskin changing of the logo and all that. Everybody excited about that, Robert. But I'm saying to people of color, stay focused. You know, we got to stop championing other people's causes, and we got to stay focused. And that's something we're not doing. We're not staying focused. So, in saying that, you know, they talk about the Redskin logo and they need to be this and they need to be that. Really, it's up to that man to do what he's going to do anyway. So we don't want to get caught up in distracting. We're talking about Black Lives Matter. We need to stick to what we're doing and stop trying to, not that we insensitive to other people's plight, but we have to, you know, our problem is we get distracted too much, Robert. And I think you can agree with me on that. We got to stop getting distracted and stick with what we're doing, because we don't do that. You know, why is it we always try to champion somebody else and we never resolve the same thing that we've been saying for years, ever since I was young? Now I'm telling my age, I'm dating myself, Robert. We asking for the same thing. Why is that, Robert?
Well, I think it is kind of difficult sometimes to divorce when people feel like they're seeing injustice. And as a person of color, and there's an old saying that the enemy of my enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so I too I'm celebrating the change of the name. I think it was long overdue, but at the same time, I think we have to stay focused on what we're doing. And I but also think we can do two things at once. If the people who feel like the name should change, I say right on for them. The folks who want to continue to support the Black Lives Matter, the causes that are going on, I say right on for them too. And they do tend to run together. But we have to keep our eyes focused though on the fact that we need to build these businesses in our community. But also at the same time, we have to build alliances and make sure we have the right partnerships and people who are sharing our goals and interests, and that we don't operate in a vacuum. I would like to think that when we go over to the Cherokee Nation, the Sioux, the Blackfoot, and
Right.
so forth, that they will support us and we support them in our common mission, and that we fight injustice wherever it is. But at the same time, let's not take our eyes off the economic ball. We have a lot of things to do out here. We need to build businesses in our community. We need to put people to work. We have to make sure that our kids have jobs and opportunities when they grow up. We leaving businesses behind, building legacies. And so that will always be going on, regardless of what's going on in the sports arena. But right now, Myles, we're at a time where we're seeing a bleeding of there's a blurring of the line between social justice, economics, politics, religion. All of these forces are confluent, they're conflating together. It gets harder to separate them. But at the same time, when you are driven by a purpose and a mission, sometimes that mission will pull in people that don't look like you. Sometimes it'll pull in people that sometimes may have been your mortal enemy. So look at the mission of where you're trying to go as a business owner, as a person, as a community, and make sure that you're doing things that's going to help you feed that mission and not draw away from it.
Yeah, and you know, Robert, I, I'm so I can't say enough about what you bring to the table in terms of business, because we want people to understand that the business part of it. Also, I have to touch on this too, Robert. You hear because of the Black Lives Movement, you hear all these big corporations saying that we're gonna donate 10 million here to Black Lives, 20 million here. I'm just curious to find out, who are you giving this money to? I don't want to see if you're giving it. Give us a list of the organizations that you're giving this money to in the Black community, because you know they quick in saying we're going to donate this amount of money. We're going to donate that amount of money. The NFL, we're going to donate $200 and some million. But who did you donate it to? What organization you donated to? And I'm just curious, and I want to call all of them out on that. All these big organizations, the first thing they tell me, oh, we want to change. Don't say stuff just for the heck of saying it. You know what I mean, Robert? You know, stop doing that. Where's these organizations in the Black community that they so-called giving this money out? See, soon as people hear, well, they're going to donate 10 million to this and 5 million to this, a Black Lives Matter, but when it comes back, where's the money? It sounds good, but where's the money?
I think what we have is something that happens often in our community when people outside the community, they tend to pick the flavor of the day, and sometimes the person of the day, the organization of the day. You look at the entertainment industry, and you have like 1 or 2 people that have all the jobs when there are so many talented people in our community. And I think sometimes when corporations are doing that, when they're doing their benevolence, they pick out the same 1 or 2 organizations and give them the money, and then they can go back and go to sleep at night and say, hey, we contributed to Black Lives Matter, we contributed to this group.
And the money never
trickles
down to the organization that's supposed to get it, that need it.
Yeah, we hope that money trickles down, and
but it never do. It never do. I mean, let's just say what it is. It never do. So, and saying that, Robert, and didn't mean to cut you off if I did.
Okay.
I just, you know, I'm tired of people saying things and then people of color say, oh, okay, well, we can really get this and stuff. And it never end up in the hands or the type of small Black businesses that it should go to. And I'm tired of the big companies getting, well, they donated to us and they might send T-shirts down there with Black Lives Matter on it. Oh, we gave them some money, we got T-shirts. But I mean, to actually help these businesses, why is this happening over and over and over again, Robert?
Well, I will say you're exactly right, because I've gotten emails from companies who were saying we put aside a certain amount of money to help businesses, Black community, and you go to their website. As soon as you get over there, there's a big sign say, "Well, we out of money. We tried," and that does make you that sends up a flag to me. It's like, I mean, this was like the first day the sign went up, and you're out of money already. Is it that much need? What it does, Miles, it lets us know how great the need is, and that corporations are not stepping up enough. Now, I'll tell you something that's happening. I think that people need to watch very carefully. The BUI, this what do you call it, basic income, where some of the big companies are actually pushing an agenda where it needs certain areas where the economic plight, that everybody's guaranteed an income, $1,000 a month. And some companies are pushing this. I know Jack Dorsey over at Twitter, he's put up a few $1 million to do it. But Miles, what this says though is that they're not doing this. I think some are doing it out of benevolence and they're philanthropic reasons, but they understand that there is a limit to how much people are going to suffer before they really start riding in the streets. When you have technology and globalization and all these other forces that are putting downward pressure on people's ability to make money, I mean, what are they supposed to do? You can't take a coal miner who's 55 years old and tell him to go out and start learning how to do technology. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And same thing in our community. You got some of these blue collar bus drivers and people like that who've been squeezed out. They're in their prime, but they're already past their prime. And you're telling them now suddenly to go out and start learning a new trade. If you haven't picked up a computer in your life and you're telling me to go out here and become a programmer, that's living in la la land. That's living in la la land. So what we're seeing now, which is going to be interesting to watch, is how these companies are going to navigate this basic income that's on the table right now in many jurisdictions.
Yeah, so, you know, and it's a shame, but I have to just call out some of these companies, man, that this so-called money is supposed to be getting. I mean, it's, you know, what they say, I don't believe it, it's the thought, you know what I mean? Because that really don't mean nothing, you know what I mean? I thought about going to the movie the other day, but that really don't pan out in terms of helping the movies because I didn't go. So I'm just saying to people that we need to stop thinking. I know you want to chuckle yourself there, huh? You had to chuckle yourself, huh, Robert? I don't understand that how we always take up other people flights, and I get a little perturbed with that, Robert. And I know, and not like I say, I'll say again, not that I'm insensitive to other people, but we never get anything resolved that we start and we start to talk about, we start to push forward about. Now, I have to admit, these young millennials, I have to give it to them. They are pushing this agenda, but still nothing had been solved.
I think what we have to do is we have to, I guess, put more of a premium on our devotion and our ability to jump on other people's causes. I'm not against jumping on other people's causes, but I think we got to have more reciprocity. It seems like we are beating a lot of people's drums, and when the time to come bail us out, it's like we're out there usually standing by ourselves. So we have to put more pressure and put more help people. If we're going to help you, then look, when it's time when we need you, and they got the foot on our neck and pushing us down and redlining us and suppressing our vote, you got to come out here in the line and join the fight with us. That's why I do. When I see the what's happening in some of these communities, I've seen. I look at the Black Lives Matter protests, and I'm looking at the variety, the great diversity of the people who are participating. The young people, the old, the black, the white, the Asian, the Latino, the Jewish community, and people are coming out and supporting the community since the George Floyd incident. We just need more of that, and because there are some that we are limited in how many causes we can jump on, but when we're fighting injustice and oppression, I think we have to just keep our foot to the metal and fight it where it raises its ugly head.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, this weekend they had a big march up there in New York, upstate New York, and the sad part about it was two people of color there. The rest of the people was Caucasian Americans, and that. Not saying we didn't appreciate their help, but where was the rest of the people of color? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, we don't want this to fizz out because, we good at making a lot of noise and stuff start fizzing out. That's my only problem with this. And Black Lives Matter, I'm very supportive. The young lady that was on your show, Robert, had the opportunity to thank me. Thanks for inviting me on there. It was a great show. Now, she was passionate, she was serious, she was smart, she was articulate. This young lady got her agenda across. She even had me understand, like I told her, whatever I can do. But we need more people like that. We need more people to stand up and say, okay, I like the part where she said, Robert, well, if the people try to put some of them out, they say, we all gonna go out. We all staying here. You know what I mean? We're gonna make sure due process. And you like that, but I don't want people jumping on the bandwagon, Robert, and then we find out that they really wasn't as supportive as they seemed to be, and they were just excited about what was going on at the time. You follow what I'm saying? Did that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there does come a time when we as people in the community have to look at, I hate to say follow the money, but you look at people in the olden days, people like Malcolm and Dr. King, they didn't have these big corporate contracts. They didn't have sponsors like the leaders seem to have now. Right now, you go to a convention, you go to these guys around in corporate jets, and I'm not mad at them. I'm just saying that sometimes when you have these sponsors are looking for something on the other end. So we have to sometimes back up and look at, is this person actually fighting for my interest, or they're a surrogate for other types of forces? But like I said, I've never been the one, or I'm ever going to say, look, they don't deserve. I think that Dr. King and Malcolm X and the other people that fell before them and after them, I think they deserved more. They should have gotten more. They should have gotten more from the community, though. And that's been a shortcoming in our community. That's why some of our leaders have to turn to outside interests just to eat. because we are somewhat lacking in our own ability to support our own people, just like in our businesses.
Right.
Business owners, we're out here trying to make it and trying to keep it in the community, but the community is not supporting you. So we have this symbiotic relationship. It's kind of one-sided. And I'm not endorsing myopia to saying we can only eat and feed our own, but there does come a point where we have to support the businesses in our community and the leaders that are dedicating and putting themselves on the line so they don't have to keep going out to these outside interests that sometimes have different agendas.
Absolutely. And believe me, they do have different agendas than what we have. But the old saying is, what they say, I do for you, you do for me. But we need to just do for us. And we got to stop being afraid to work with each other. Stop being afraid to, understand the power of the dollar we have. Understand the fact that we are the biggest consumers in America. Mm-hmm. Understand where you give your dollar to is who you give your power to, and I don't think we still don't understand that. We have to get out thinking we define ourselves by what we have on and what we're doing. I don't think that the conversation I heard, and it was really, I have a lot of respect for these individuals, but some of them keep yelling, we overcame. No, you overcame. But what about the rest of the people of color? And I hate to keep hearing it all the time. And that's why the MFL, the laboratory of change, we want to give everybody an opportunity. No, we're not the Negro League, but don't think that I'm not going to do everything I can to empower our people of color, especially us. That's why we have Mr. Robert Gatewood here. That's why we have so many different components with the MFL. A lot of different components. Even our programs work with at-risk youth. I mean, we have so many different spokes in this wheel, Robert, and that's why we tell people all the time, we just want you to come and experience the MFL. You know what I mean? We're not asking for nothing. You have to just come and see for yourself. Because like I say, seeing is believing. You know what I mean, Robert?
Well, you put together an amazing organization and some amazing talent. You surround yourself with some people who are, any corporation, any Fortune 500, any government agency, any type of institution would be glad to have them on their staff. And so that's the reason why the MFL is on the upcline and why people should experience it, because it's like you said, it's not just about football. Football is nice. We like a good game as much as the next person come out on Saturday, get some hot dogs and some drinks and sit there and enjoy a good game. But we know at the end of the day, when that game is over, we have to go back to our lives. And so we can't operate in a vacuum and pretend that these things aren't happening around us. And that's why when you bring in good people like the folks you put around you, these people, they have the ear to the ground. They're concerned about the community. They're concerned about the players, concerned about the vendors who are going to have to, feed us and the other supply chain that come along with the MFL. And that's why I always look at the MFL as the laboratory of change, is setting the example of how really big sports should operate. It's not just about who they can pay $500 million to. How is this going to affect the community you're operating in? I want everybody to make all the money they can make, but is this money going to get down to the community where these games are being played? Where the people out there, you got people over here making $1 billion a year, and you got schools down the street with meal dues growing out of the ceiling. There's something wrong with that. And so that's why I look at MFL as an organization that's not just concerned about fattening somebody's pocket or making somebody into a superstar. It has its eyes on the community and how this is going to affect us as a whole. And that's why I'm involved. I can probably catch a ball and throw it, but my interest is what are these football players going to do when the game is over?
There you go.
I'm here to provide an opportunity, some information and knowledge to help them come out here and start working in the community and helping some of these young kids and building businesses and creating jobs. That's why I'm around, and I'm glad to have you at the helm to make sure that. And I think it's very important to acknowledge and thank you for having an interest outside of football and understand the holistic nature of sports and how it plays into the big picture, into the fabric of our lives and our community. And so that's foresight. That's good foresight on your behalf. And I say thank you to you and much success. And I'm glad to be affiliated.
and you know, Robert, you know, what you were saying is so important that you can't play this game forever. Your body might, you know, your mind tell you you're going to do this and that, and your body tell you in a minute, I ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Your body going to give you, you know, you wasn't built, we're human beings, not machines. And learning, teaching these young individuals, we're on the cutting edge. We want to get them to understand, if you want to go in broadcast journalists, if you want to go into marketing, PR, if you want to go in these types of things, even in train, even as sports agents, we here to teach these guys this, because our vision beyond the field is very important. You know, that's very important to us, because we want these guys to understand being entrepreneurs. That's what Robbie here for. We're going to show you how to set up businesses. You know, we don't want you to just think that, you know, you're going to play football forever. If you want an opportunity to coach, you want an opportunity to be a GM in this league, that is real. There's no glass ceiling here. I can honestly say that to people, but it's just that it bothers me that we still don't understand. And a lot of people are taking a good look at this right now. And you really, you know, all the other leagues, they're struggling now to find out what they're going to do. But they got to understand they're not in charge. God's in charge. They might be in charge, Robert. So every time they're trying to do something, you know, it doesn't work out, because I know you're a religious man and you're a Christian man, but in the Bible, the Lord said, if you appoint, I'll disappoint you every time. So no matter how much they're trying to get stuff going, you know, the best thing happened with the HBCUs, the Patriot League, the different leagues that did shut down. Kudos to them, man. And for other leagues that are trying to do stuff, it's too dangerous. The NBA, I know, is billions of dollars in this. They're going to push this till they have to play. But at what cost, Robert? At what cost? Baseball, you see, if you find out more and more, the stars say, hey, look, I'm not going to do this, man. I'm not going to do this. The star for the Mystics, Delafane, I don't know if I said her name right. I don't want to butcher nobody's name. But she said, no, I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to play. Because Robert, at what cost, man? At what cost? Is it worth it?
Well, you brought up the Bible. One of the famous quotes from the Bible is that faith without work is dead. And so we have to keep our feet to the ground and making sure that things happen. And I do think that we have to, I understand that the long-term harm that can be done by closing everything down, but we have to walk that delicate balance. We have to have smart people in positions of power. And I think that's where we have a vacuum right now. We have people who are making decisions based on political aims and objectives and one-upsmanship. But we have to have the basic interests of the people down on the ground, the people, our kids, our older people who can't work right now. We have to have them in my heart. And we can't send kids to school to come home and give the pandemic to grandma, and grandma got to go to COVID hospital with a ventilator because we were rushing to judgment. And so I think that we have to look at, we have to be wise. We have to make sure we have good people in position to make these kind of decisions. And I think we have a problem, a leadership vacuum in our country right now, where people are making decisions that are not based on fact and science, but it's based on how many votes am I going to get, or how many votes am I going to lose on making this decision. You have people out here ready to fight you and shoot you and stab you for asking them to wear a mask. Mask should not be a political issue. That should not be a political issue. That's just a health issue. That's a public safety issue. And somebody tell you to put a mask on, you go out here and take a gun and shoot them. Man, that's a dangerous place where our country is going right now. And I think we need to bring civility back to politics. We need to bring it back to business. And as a community, I think we need to continue to work towards getting our businesses so that we're independent, and so that people don't constantly feel like they have the right or the ability to put us on the ground and stick their knee in our neck and expect us to just sit there and take it. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of things going on right now. I was sitting here thinking about some of the players and what they're going through. And back to the mission and aims of the MFL, I was thinking about these guys have to keep dreaming. And they dream, a lot of people they're coming out of, they miss the NFL, they miss this league, but their dream never dies. They can bring that dream on over to the MFL, And it reminds me of one of the guests I had on my show not too long ago, young lady, Brenda Lita Model. And she talked, very explicit terms about the power of not giving up on your dreams. And I think when I look at the MFL and some of the players out there, I've been to a few of the games. And what I saw in those eyes were guys that never stopped dreaming. They never gave up on their aspirations of playing football. And the fact that the MFL is here to give them that opportunity, once again, it's all these things come together. And I think that the MFL is in a good position. I think we as business owners and leaders and whatever industry we're in, we have to make sure that we provide safety nets and opportunities for people who still believe in the American dream and their own dream and their community dream, and give them the opportunities to fulfill those dreams.
And you're so right about that, Robert. And the United States, and we have our faults and everything, but it's a great country. But the great thing about it that you do have rights, but sometimes you find out you can have so many rights, you don't have no rights at all. You know what I mean? Now, people say, well, I don't want to wear a face mask. They have the right to do that. But we also have the right for you not to come in there without a face mask on and give us COVID virus. You know what I mean? So, and I get it now. That's why justice is blind. That's why she had the rag over our eyes. Because when you think about it, man, some of the stuff that we're really getting in it about is true. We have the right for you not to do what you're doing to us. We have the right of freedom of speech. We have the right of freedom of assembly. We have the right to bear arms. But if you listen to other people, they act like they never heard of that unless they're carrying the arms. You know what I mean? But when that's what we, leadership plays a great part in this. And because what we have in place for leadership is a problem, because what they always say, even in Bible, a house divided cannot stand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And right now, that's what I look at when I look at America right now, that we're really, we're really struggling over things that we shouldn't be even, it shouldn't even be a thought, because it's just right, but people seem to want to ignore that, Robin, and I don't get it. I mean, I don't have words for it. I really don't.
Well, I think part of the problem, I remember this guy from China, Mao Zedong, he said, right is on the side of the stronger. And sometimes when people start fighting over rights, you have to get down to the origin of how that right came to be. Mm-hmm. Like the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, that was not out of this regulated to malicious stuff. That was really to protect the slaves from the possible uprising from these slaves. That's how that came into being. It had no altruistic reason. We go back, we start unwrapping some of these things that we call rights. And we find out they have really sinister motives. They came about to protect an elite class and to continue to suppress an underclass, even the electoral college that we've grown accustomed to. That was built off the 3/5 compromise, because they didn't know what to do with all these slaves, and the southern states wanted to count the slaves as part of their representation to get more representation in Congress, and the northern was saying no, so they came up with a compromise. Well, we'll count them as 3/5 of a person, and that's how they start, and that's how the origin of the electoral college. And so that's why I look at this moment that we're in right now. We have to go back and realize that it's a difficult fight, because we have ingrained in our laws, not just in our mindsets and you don't have just a few crazy folks here running around. We have laws that were built upon a system of injustice. And so when we start to dismantle that, that's when we start getting all this pushback. I'm not wearing a mask. You're not going to take my gun. You're not going to do this. But these same people aren't as adamant about making sure we have the right to vote. They pick and choose. They're cafeteria rights people. They pick the rights that's going to benefit them. The other rights, they've set it down. So I said what we have to do as a community, however, is to continue to build our economic foundation, because no matter what somebody tries to do to you, then if you have a strong economic foundation, that opens up opportunity. It builds somewhat of a firewall. Now, that's not going to stop some crazy from coming in there like they did during Black Wall Street and burning their place down. But what we also found out, that we are resilient people. We'll jump right back up. Many people don't realize that Wall Street was rebuilt. And the reason that it actually found it disappeared had nothing to do with, well, of course they burned it down, but they built a highway that went right through the community and broke the city up.
Built again.
Yeah, so it was rebuilt. And so, but that's why we have to take a holistic approach. We can't say, oh, we can't build here making money and assume that all is well, but somebody come in and burn the place down, if the police don't come, or if the fire trucks don't come when you call the fire trucks. We have to take this holistic approach. We have to be everywhere. But the economics is the foundation. Let nobody tell you otherwise. If you don't have the money, this other stuff is not going to matter, period. You can't build schools. You can't pay police. You can't put food on your table. If you don't have money, everything else is nice, but you got to have money in order to survive.
Right, and you put it so eloquently, Robert. But you're right. In these laws has been twisted, and you know it takes an education, but don't be misled by the education that we was given by them. We have to be smart enough to look at things, just like the Constitution says you have the right to bear arms, but you got to have a license for it. It didn't say that in the Constitution. It just said you have the right to bear arms. Then you know what they threw this in? Oh, you got to have a license. You cannot have no criminal background. You see what they did, Robert? See, so we as people of color have to understand, you know, things are not what they appear to be. You know what I mean? Or what the old saying, Robert? Only believe in what you see and none of what you hear. Remember that, Robert?
Right. Yeah.
You know, right. So we really, and I think everybody has a platform like this, and the purpose of it, you are listening to Inside the MFL, but we also, the MFL is the laboratory of change. That's why we have conversation. Oh, we're a minor professional football league, but that's not all we do. We are beyond the field. So when we have conversations like this to educate people in terms of business, economic development, that's why we have our co-host, which Mr. Robert Gatewood, because people have to really understand. Robert, if you learn it, look at the history of people of color, man. We had a lot of people in Congress. We had Black Wall Street. We had, if you do it, even though they're covering it up, Robert, you know, people of color that have always been doing it. The problem is somewhere down the line, Robert, we got a little lost and a little complacent.
Well, we've had a little help getting there. I hate to say it because every time we've made progress, there's always been a backlash. You can go all the way back to Reconstruction. And as recent as the aftermath of the presidency of Barack Obama. And people were really upset about that. And they were determined that the next chance they get, they were going to take those gains that were made, even if it means taking their own health care, just to make sure that Black folks can get the health care. I mean, there's some really sickness. There's a sickness in this country. This racism is actually a sickness. And sometimes you look at the people they're doing really irrational things to protect some foregone error. And I'm quick to say it's not everybody. And thank goodness we have some fair people out here, some just people of all races, white, Black, Hispanic, who want to see justice. And I say my hat's off to them. We have to encourage them. And when they do the right thing, we have to let them know that we see you, and we want to encourage that. But we do have a sickness in our country, and it's going to take it may take another generation to correct it, if ever, because it's so embedded in the fabric of the country. And that's what this movement started with George Floyd has been so magnanimous, is that people are making decisions and they're changing things that really have never been even discussed before. And then this pandemic is giving, it's almost like it's washing the soul of the country. It's giving us a chance to restart and challenge some of the systems that have been ingrained. And so we have two factors that are going on simultaneously that's really giving this country a chance to right its wrongs, to set the record straight. You stand up and say, look, this was wrong the way we've done things over the years. But our community, we have to be vigilant and not drop the ball. We have to stay on our toes. We have to grab these opportunities and not miss the second wave. There is a second wave right now of economic opportunity. We have to be ready. And that's why this platform and others like it, we have to, every chance we get, we have to tell people that, look, there's money out here, there's opportunity, people are opening up their wallets, their hearts. Are you ready? Are you ready to take advantage of these opportunities? And that's why I've been very busy, because I have been on my show, on this show, and any platform I can get. I'm telling people, get this money that's available, get these opportunities, tighten up your literature, get on a radio show, send out emails, get on social media, and let folks know that you are ready to do business. You are ready to do business. And the people that are doing that, I've been all week. I've got a whole stack of people that have called me this week, and they're saying, Robert, we're ready to go. What do we need to do? And I'm glad to tell them.
Absolutely. And that's what we need to do, Robert. Like I say, your platform, which you have a great platform, the Marketing Pulpit, you know, these platforms, we need to talk about what we need to do to educate and empower our people. Because you got you don't have to be Ray Charles and feel your way to see what's going on. Even with the cannabis stuff, you know, reefer was against the law. Now it's legal, but for some people, now how can it be legal, but certain people of color, you get arrested for it. Now how can they sell something that's legal? Just like the numbers. I mean, you can go to the stores now and bet. When I was a little boy, the numbers people of color made a living off it. Now you go in the store, people spend all the money. Now they got the casino taking all the money, and people knowingly go there and waste their money, do not get nothing back. Oh, guess what? I won $200, but how much did you lose? You see what I'm saying, Robert? Something's wrong with this, and people of color need to just, if you know, I'm a preach, and I know you have been for a long time, Robert. We just need to open our eyes. We need to open our eyes. And don't get me wrong, I know that because you my complexion don't make you my kind. I realize that, Robert, but we got to understand, man, no one is going to fight this for us.
Right.
Keep thinking you are, you know, we're in trouble right there. Our thinking is really off. We need, everybody has a platform, need to address these things all the time. Don't be about just your business, your show, but educate people. I try to educate people all the time, Robert. Yes, this is the Minor Football League. Yes, we're in the business, but we're so much more than that. We are the laboratory of change. So that's why when we start talking about a subject like this and topics like this, it makes people sit back and say, hey, wait a minute. I told you, wait a minute. But we need to take advantage of all the platforms we have to get people to understand what's going on, Robert. And they really need to understand what's going on, Robert, in terms of what we confronted with. And like I say, no one gonna fight this for us. You know, no one gonna fight this for us.
You made a good point. I think another thing we have to do to make sure that as we promote our football and our athletic leaders, we have to look at some of these killings that are taking place in our community. We've seen places like Chicago where there's like a bloodbath, seems like every weekend. And we need to have our leaders, our athletic leaders and opinion leaders to step up to the plate and go into these communities and spread the word that there's a better way. And that's another reason why we have to take on these battles ourselves. Yes, we have police killing people, we have injustice, we have this, but things that we have in our own community, we have to look at those too and bring some of those resources. These people that are spending money, that are opening up their wallets. Let's go into these communities like Chicago and go in there and try to shake things up and figure out what's going on. Put some think tanks together and not just do the same old thing, because obviously whatever been doing hasn't worked. So we got to start to find new solutions and tackle these problems in our own way. Use the resources we have while we're handing out these $500 million salaries to football players. Let's look at these communities. What would a half of that amount do in a city like Chicago to help stem some of this violence? So we got to put in the system of justice, help goes where it's needed the most. And I think one of the areas right now is where we have these killing zones in our community. They need to get a little more attention.
Absolutely, and we don't need to really say things that we know that's wrong. You know, okay, we know some of these other things going on with the police, but when we don't police ourselves, then we kind of, we going backwards. You know, Robert, and I try to address everything. I'm not trying to be the police, don't want to be, but I'm about my people. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like I say, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but just respect each other. You know,
Right.
I think if we can do that, that's half of the battle. But Robert, how can everybody, MFL Nation, they should know by now, but how can they get in contact with you?
Well, Miles, I'm all over the place. I'm
And
about to
that, and
start
he
my.
could be that. We make sure we all over social media, huh, Robert?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually started my second book tour. This time it's virtual, of course. My book, Played in Full. We just launched a new website. We're making a new push now because it has gained new relevance during this pandemic. We've started to I think Amazon ran out the other day. So many people are buying it because it touches on many of these issues that we talk about on the show, on my show, and we've talked about today. Things like crime, things like people spending money foolishly, people not taking care of their health, following the leader, all these crazy things that sometimes that have a negative impact on our community. So I'm going to start making that more of my stump speech, played in full, and it's called the marketing exploitation of Black America. Whenever you're going to be economically exploited, the precursor is usually marketing exploitation, and so that's what the book is about. And we talked about the different types of people are playing on our community. So that's playedinfull.com. And then my radio show, Marketing Pulpit, every Friday at 10:30 a.m. And Mr. Myles, he graced our show last week. We had a lot of listeners. Tune, man, I'm telling you, you had some big numbers coming in. You brought your folks with you, obviously. And so we had great numbers on the Marketing Pulpit last week with Mr. Myles. We had Danielle Brown from Black Voters Matter. And we're going to have a great show this week. We still got a couple of folks with solidifying for the show this week. And also every Friday, and that's marketingpulpit.com, Marketing Pulpit, to find out more about the show and see the guests. And you can listen to past shows where Mr. Myles was present. And then, of course, I'm here every Wednesday on the MFL, on the Minor Football League, as the co-host of Mr. Myles, and glad to be here every Wednesday. Talk about how football and economics can work together to help build a better community.
And you know, Robert, and also like I'm excited about you being a part of this. We met; it wasn't a blessing. He was so kind that when we first met, he invited me to call in on his show, and ever since then, it seemed like we've been just tied to the hip ever since then. You know, I love his platform and everything. And once he got to understand and see what I was doing, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, you know, this is different." But you know, you can reach you, and you know, this is Inside the MFL. You can reach us on our website, mflishere.com. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on the Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the different platforms that we are on, because we want people to understand that the MFL is the laboratory of change, and we want them to understand that, we're not beating anybody up. We're not kicking nobody. Why? Every time I say this to people, when we start talking about empowering our own people, then we become exile. We become militant. Well, then I'll take that then. If that's what you want to say, this is my platform, and I'm going to take full advantage of it and what we're doing. And Robert, just a great addition to what we're doing. And we hopefully I'm gonna talk to Robert about doing a roundtable with his show, my show, and we want to get people in from the community, people that make a difference. Like I say, the young lady you had on the show with the Black Lives Matter, she was serious about what she was doing. She was sharp. She understand what's needed and stuff. And I think we need more people like that. And maybe we bring them to the table, Robert, and sit down and get their opinion and stuff. We do the help, because that's not what the MFL about. It's the laboratory of change. So, I mean, these are the types of things that we're trying to do, Robert. And I know you do a lot of things. And like I said, your show is just phenomenal. For people that haven't seen it, MFL Nation, you got to tune into the Marketing Pulpit. And I want Robert to, we got a couple of minutes. Let them know again how they can get in contact with you, Robert, because this is very, very important.
Okay, go to marketingpulpit.com, marketingpulpit.com. Also on Facebook, we're Marketing Pulpit. On Instagram, we're Marketing Pulpit. On Twitter, we're Marketing Pulpit. We also have a YouTube channel, Marketing Pulpit. and we're just everywhere. We've made some very big inroads, and thanks to the MFL for having us partner with them. And so the word is just getting out that we need to take a more seriously economic look at what we're doing in our community, and we need to partner and build relationships. And so Myles and I, we are a living example of that. What happens when people put their heads together?
Absolutely. And, you know, Robert, I can't convey enough what you said, that it's very important that we understand what we're doing. We got to stop, you know, like I say, we had the biggest spending power of anybody in the country. With that $2.2 trillion, you know, that's a lot of money. Imagine if we kept that in our community, Robert, what we could do with that. In terms of, you know, we got a couple of things, Robert, what could we do with that money in the community?
Like I was saying, if you're looking for a way to write that, you can just take my basic approach. Every time a dollar goes out of your hand, just imagine yourself, am I ever going to see this money again? If the answer is no, you're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. That money's got to come back to you at some point. If not, then that money you just took money out of your community, out of your family, out of yourself that may never come again. So ask yourself that when you spend, am I going to see this money again?
Yeah, and you know, we really need to understand that the MFL, and we said over and over again, we are the laboratory of change. And what we mean by that, you know, go to our website. We want you to just experience the MFL. I always said, you know, I have a saying that I say it all the time, as though I'm preaching, documentation be conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about what we're doing. There's really 27 years we've been around, but we bought the MFL off the shelf 25 years ago. So that's why we celebrate our 25th year anniversary, which we will do that after this calm down, this virus, but we're not in a hurry, Robert. We want to do things the right way. You know what I mean? We're not going to get out there and do something to get us in trouble. I want to thank you, Robert, for joining us again. Always, you've been listening to another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Richard David Myles Jr. Thank you for joining us.